Welcome back everyone. You guys already know we had to do this comparison, and the OnePlus 8 is the newest device from OnePlus, and I'll be honest, I like the phone, I think it's a really good phone, but as soon as I was watching that keynote, there was one phone that I was thinking about the whole entire time when I was looking at the OnePlus 8, and that was the Samsung Galaxy S10. These phones look identical in a lot of ways. Really the main difference is that the hole punch display is on the left side on the OnePlus 8, but it's on the right side of the Galaxy S10. Other than that, they look almost identical, and I thought at first I was going to be seeing a lot more comments and like a lot more memes and stuff about it, but really nobody said any memes, nobody said anything. Maybe they don't really care, maybe they forgot, I don't know, but I wanted to go ahead and compare the OnePlus 8 to the Samsung Galaxy S10 and see which one is the better price per value, which one should you pick up. Now, there's a lot of advantages for both, but starting off with the price tag, the OnePlus 8 is retailing for $799 on Amazon for the standard model. I think the only model they have available there. These things are getting sold out like crazy, which I think is, a pretty decent device. I mean, the Samsung Galaxy S10 started off at $899, but the S10 doesn't cost $899 anymore. And for the only model that's available, you can actually pick it up for less than $450, which is pretty insane. And for me right now, it's saying it's $410, but prices fluctuate, so I don't know, but that is almost half the price as the OnePlus 8, which is pretty insane. So I'll leave both of these linked down below in the description for the cheapest prices that I find, so you can get them from there and help support the channel at the same time. Now looking on the front, I'll go ahead and start off with the Samsung Galaxy S10 since it is the older one. We have a 6.1 inch dynamic AMOLED display. It is a 1440p panel, which is extremely cool, and what I'll tell you like this, man, the Galaxy S10's panel, actually looking at it, is such a good panel. When it came out last year, I was so happy about it. I felt like it was I feel like I was holding a piece of art, to be honest. I mean, we had a very little bezel around the whole entire display, and even coming from the Galaxy S9, that was a pretty big upgrade in my opinion. You had very slim bezels at the top and bottom, but you still had a little bit of a chin, which is okay. And then you had that infamous hole punch to display that everybody was memeing at the time, but really now we kind of got used to it, to be honest. And I can definitely tell you the display is still one of its highlights. It still looks like an extremely good panel, and there's really not too much to hate on it. You have that inbuilt fingerprint sensor in the display as well, which is really cool. Whereas on the OnePlus 8, we have a 6.55 inch 1080p panel. So it definitely is a little bit, it's not as great and not as sharp as something like a Samsung Galaxy S10. And the weird thing is that it's also bigger than the Galaxy S10. So you have a little bit of a difference there. But what I will tell you though, where the OnePlus 8 actually kind of makes up for it, would definitely be that 90Hz refresh rate. We have that ability of doing that, increasing the screen refresh rate on the OnePlus 8, where you don't necessarily have that on the Samsung Galaxy S10. Now I think, the S10's panel looks better, but the OnePlus 8 does have that extra refresh rate. And honestly, I would probably want that over the Samsung Galaxy S10's panel, even though that one looks better. So this one is kind of tough. You're giving up, a better looking panel in every single way for a panel that has a higher refresh rate, which it is what it is, but I definitely do like the OnePlus 8's display a little bit more because of that. But I still think the Galaxy S10's panel looks better, if you know what I mean. So they both have USB Type-C ports on the bottom. The Galaxy S10 does have a headphone jack, which is really cool. And on the back, they have triple camera setups on both and glass backs on both as well. And the OnePlus 8 has this matte texture type of glass to it, which I think is really cool. The Samsung Galaxy S10 has the standard glass back. And if you ever use like an iPhone 11 Pro or 11 Pro Max, that's basically what the glass back on the OnePlus 8 feels like. But on the Galaxy S10, it's that standard, like if you used an iPhone 11 or Galaxy S9 or whatever, that's what that glass back feels like. That's kind of the best way I can explain it. Now the Galaxy S10 does have an extremely cool feature that the OnePlus 8 doesn't have, and that is actually reverse wireless charging, which I'll get into in a second. But it also has a micro SD card slot, which is extremely awesome. The OnePlus 8 doesn't have that. It'll probably never get that. But that's a really cool thing that the Galaxy S10 has that the OnePlus 8 does not have. Now IP certification, you do have it on the Samsung Galaxy S10. You have IP68 dust and water resistance, so you can go up to 1.5 meters of water for 30 minutes. Where the OnePlus 8, as far as we know, they said that some models have IP certification and some models don't. So I really don't know, so I'm not even going to comment on it. But when you feel both in the hand and you're trying to determine which one is more premium, they both kind of feel the same. They both kind of look the same as well. In my opinion, I think the Samsung Galaxy S10, I don't know, feels better in the hand, probably because it's smaller and just fits better. But I think the OnePlus 8 does have some really cool, compelling things for it too. And for that price tag, I think it's a pretty good looking phone at the end of the day. So in terms of the outside, that really pretty much covers it. Now hitting on the software, this is where things kind of get, maybe interesting to some, maybe not. the OnePlus 8 is starting off with Android 10. It's going to be lasting for several more years, which is very important. It's based off my calculations, I could be wrong, but I think it's going to be stopping at Android 13, which is a long time from now. You're getting multiple versions of software, which is awesome. With the Samsung Galaxy S10, it started off with Android Pie. Right now it's on One UI 2, which is really cool. I love One UI 2 a lot. Actually, One UI 2.1. And as far as I know, it's probably going to get one more version of Android. So it's going to be stopping at Android 11, and that's really it. I mean, it's not going to be getting any more versions on top of that, which is kind of sad. I feel like the Samsung Galaxy S10 could have handled more versions, but it is what it is. There's nothing we can do about it. I think when you have a phone like the Samsung Galaxy S10, looks can be deceiving, and you would pick up this phone, and even 2 years from now, when this phone is done getting supported, you're going to use it, and you'll be like, man, this phone could have easily gotten Android 13 or Android 14 even. And hopefully Samsung switches up their lifecycle support. If they do that, everything will change in the phone industry, I think. But in terms of software, the OnePlus 8 is definitely going to outlast the Samsung Galaxy S10, which is totally okay. But again, some people might feel a way about it, and I feel a way about it too. But in terms of the software, that really pretty much covers it. Now, hitting on the performance, the Samsung Galaxy S10 started off with the Qualcomm Snapdragon 855 chipset, an octa-core CPU, and Adreno 640 GPU. There were two different models, and both of those models had 8 gigs of RAM, where the OnePlus 8 has the Qualcomm Snapdragon 865 chipset, an octa-core CPU, and Adreno 650 GPU, and there's two different models of this phone as well. The base model with 8 gigs of RAM and the top tier model with 12 gigs of RAM. And what I can tell you about the performance is that I definitely do think the OnePlus 8 is probably the faster device, especially if you get that top tier model. But even for the base models of both, which is I have the top tier model of the OnePlus 8, but the base model of the S10, and I never really tested the RAM between these two, but I can tell you in terms of the performance, I think the performance is really, really good on both of these phones still. But OnePlus's Oxygen OS is personally my favorite, and they have so much less bloatware on the OnePlus 8 than on the S10, and with the One UI 2 and 2.1, it really does still have a lot of bloatware on it, which is kind of weird. I never really liked it, but on the OnePlus, they don't really have that, which is really nice. And I feel like that in and of itself smooths a lot of the experience out, which is really cool. So I'll definitely tell you, when you're using both in your hand and you're flipping through apps and everything, they both feel pretty smooth, but I feel like the OnePlus 8 feels a little bit smoother. And on top of that, when I'm playing a heavier intensive game or anything, both of them load them the same. They both look kind of good as well. So I don't think one necessarily blows the other one out of the water in that sense, but I think when it comes down to the performance, the OnePlus 8 is probably the better performing device when it comes down to it, but I feel like the Samsung Galaxy S10 is right behind it too. So when it comes down to both, the OnePlus 8 is the faster performing device, but the Samsung Galaxy S10 is still a really, really good performing device as well. So in terms of performance, that really pretty much covers it. Now hitting on the cameras, like I stated before, we have triple camera setups on both. On the S10, we have a 12 megapixel wide angle lens, 12 megapixel telephoto lens, and a 16 megapixel ultra wide sensor. Whereas on the OnePlus 8, we have a 48 megapixel wide angle lens, 16 megapixel ultra wide sensor, and then a 2 megapixel macro lens. And both phones can shoot 4K at 60, which is really cool. In my opinion though, and I don't even think it's just my opinion, I think everybody feels this way, the Samsung Galaxy S10, I believe, has a better camera sensor for sure. I feel like that camera is extremely good. It has so much going for it. And even now, over a year later, that camera still holds up like crazy. That triple camera setup was extremely good, and Samsung knocked it out of the park. And now with the S20, we even have 8K, but for the S10, still a great camera quality for sure. Whereas on the OnePlus 8, we can do, it's a good camera, I think it gets the job done, but it's just something about it. It looks a little bit washed out to me, some of the colors that I took, and you guys can see over the screen itself, but I think the Galaxy S10 probably has a better camera setup. On the front, 10 megapixel sensor on the S10, 16 megapixel sensor on the OnePlus 8. We have the ability of shooting 4K 30 on the Galaxy S10, where we can only do 1080p on the OnePlus 8, and I can definitely tell you at the end of the day, the OnePlus 8, I think, just doesn't really match up in the camera department with the Samsung Galaxy S10 for sure. Now ending it off with the battery life, on the Samsung Galaxy S10 we have a 3400 mAh battery, on the OnePlus 8 we have a 4300 mAh battery, and between both I'll probably give the battery edge to the OnePlus 8. I feel like that phone will have the better battery life, but the Samsung Galaxy S10 has that reverse wireless charging feature, which is really cool, and I really do like that. I think that's awesome. But when it comes down to both, the OnePlus 8 has the better battery life, but the Samsung Galaxy S10 has the better battery features. So to kind of sum up the video and to answer the comparison, dude, which one should you pick up? I think, if you want to buy a brand new phone that'll last you as long as possible, the OnePlus 8 is probably the better way to go. I think you're probably going to be getting a longer lasting phone. The phone's going to be lasting for a long time, and I think it still has a lot of value for sure. But but the Galaxy S10 is still getting supported for now. You have that micro SD card slot, great build quality, great screen, performance is really, really great. Great cameras as well. Like, you're getting a lot in a phone that's much cheaper than a brand new OnePlus 8. And I think between both, getting a Galaxy S10 will probably be a really, really good way to go as well. So, like I stated, I'll leave both of these linked down below so you can get them from there and help support the channel at the same time. That's really pretty much it. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section as well. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys get that. Also, check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel. All those links are linked down below. I'd really appreciate it if you guys would check it out. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.